I never thought my own sister would hurt my child. I prayed my family would love my 8-year-old son, Eli, the way I did, quirks and all. But when Melissa shoved him at his own birthday party and my mother backed her up, that was the moment everything changed. They didn't just lose me that day. They lost everyone else too. Before we dive into the story, I have a quick favor to ask. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. I love seeing how far our stories reach. And if this is your first time here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We drop new videos every single day. Now, let's get back to the story. My name is Karen, I'm 30 years old, and this is the story of how I finally stood up to the bullies who raised me and protected my son from becoming their next victim. Growing up in the Morris household was like walking on eggshells every single day. My father, Paul, was what you'd call the quiet type, but not in a peaceful way. He was quiet like a shadow, never stepping in when things got ugly, never protecting anyone from anything. When my younger sister Melissa would break something and blame me for it, he'd just sigh and disappear into his workshop. My mother, Julia, ruled our house with an iron fist wrapped in judgment. Everything had to be perfect, presentable, worthy of her approval. And nothing ever was. She had this way of making you feel small with just a look, like you were a disappointment she had to endure rather than a daughter she chose to love. Melissa learned cruelty from the master. She was 3 years younger than me, but somehow she figured out early that hurting me got her attention from Mom. She'd pinch me under the dinner table, then cry when I yelped. She'd hide my homework, then watch me get screamed at for being irresponsible. She'd tell lies about me to our parents, then smirk when I got punished for things I never did. And me, I learned how to shrink myself, how to be invisible, how to apologize for existing. I thought that was just how families worked. I thought that quiet desperation was normal. I thought I deserved it. But when I turned 20, I met James Rodriguez at a coffee shop downtown. He was 22, worked in construction, and had this way of really listening when you talked. Not just waiting for his turn to speak, actually listening. He saw the cracks in me and somehow loved me anyway. James made me believe I could be strong, that I deserved kindness. That one day, we could give our children something better than what I'd grown up with. 1 year later, we got married. And 1 year after that, Eli came into our lives. Eli is 8 years old now. He's autistic, brilliant, and absolutely beautiful. He loves trains, knows every type of locomotive ever made. He can draw maps from memory and do math problems in his head that would stump most adults. When he gets excited, he flaps his hands, and his whole face lights up like the sun. To me, he's everything. He's proof that love can break cycles, that gentleness can exist in this world, that my family, my real family with James, could be different. To my mother and sister, he was just weird. From the moment Eli was diagnosed at age 4, Julia made it clear she was embarrassed by her grandson. She'd make comments about his behavior at family gatherings. She'd ask when we were going to fix him. She'd suggest that maybe he just needed more discipline. Melissa was worse. She'd mock the way he talked, the way he moved, the way he got excited about things. She'd call him little robot and freak show when she thought I wasn't listening. But I was always listening. I was always watching. James would get furious. "We don't have to subject Eli to this," he'd say after every family gathering. "We can just stop going." But I wasn't ready yet. Part of me still hoped they'd change. Part of me still believed that deep down they loved us. Part of me was still that little girl, desperate for my mother's approval. I should have listened to my husband. I should have protected my son sooner. The signs were all there. At Eli's 6th birthday, Julia complained that he was too loud and asked if we could tone him down for the other guests. At his 7th birthday, Melissa, accidentally, stepped on his favorite toy train and didn't apologize when he cried. But I kept giving them chances. I kept hoping they'd see what I saw when I looked at my son. James knew better. He'd grown up in a house full of love, with parents who celebrated differences instead of punishing them. He couldn't understand why I kept exposing Eli to people who clearly didn't value him. "Karen," he'd say gently, "you can't love them into being better people. And you can't sacrifice Eli's peace for their approval." But I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. The breaking point came on a sunny Saturday in June, Eli's 8th birthday. I'd planned everything perfectly. Backyard barbecue, bounce house, blue cupcakes with train decorations. His favorite everything. All the neighbors were coming. My in-laws drove in from 1 hour away. James had taken the day off work to grill hamburgers and hot dogs. I'd invited my family too, even though James had raised his eyebrows when I sent the text. One more chance, I'd told him. It's his birthday. They have to behave on his birthday. God, I was so naive. The morning of the party, I woke up with this feeling of pure joy. Eli had crawled into our bed at dawn, bouncing with excitement. Mom, Dad, it's my birthday, it's my birthday. James kissed me on the cheek and whispered, Look at all this happiness. We did this, Karen. We created this beautiful life. And for a few hours, everything was perfect. The bounce house was a hit. The neighbors brought thoughtful gifts. My in-laws helped with everything and made Eli feel like the most important person in the world. James was in his element, flipping burgers and making everyone laugh. I remember thinking, this is what childhood should feel like. This is what love looks like. Then my family arrived. They were late, as usual. My mother walked in with her lips already pinched in disapproval, surveying the chaos of children playing and adults laughing. Melissa followed behind her, looking annoyed to be there. Well, Julia said, not even greeting the birthday boy, this is quite the production. She said production like it was a dirty word. James shot me a look. I squeezed his hand. It's fine, I whispered. They'll warm up. But they didn't warm up. They stood apart from everyone else, making comments about the noise and the mess. When Eli ran up to show them his new train set, Julia barely looked at it. That's nice, dear, she said in a voice that clearly communicated it was anything but nice. Melissa didn't even pretend to be interested. She was on her phone, sighing dramatically every few minutes. But Eli, sweet Eli, kept trying. He brought them cake. He showed them his new books. He tried to explain the difference between a freight train and a passenger train. They ignored him. They looked through him. They treated him like he was invisible. And that's when I should have asked them to leave. That's when I should have protected my son from their cruelty. But I was still hesitating. The party was winding down. Most of the neighbors had gone home. My in-laws were helping clean up. James was packing leftover cake into containers. Eli was carefully arranging his new train cars on the patio table, explaining to himself how they all connected. He was in his element, happy and absorbed and completely innocent. That's when it happened. Melissa walked over to where Eli was playing. I was about 10 feet away, gathering paper plates from the picnic table. I looked up just in time to see her standing over my son, her face twisted with irritation. You're in my way, she said to him. Eli looked up, confused. I'm just playing with my trains, Aunt Melissa. Well, play somewhere else. I need to put my purse down. But this is my spot, Eli said, not argumentatively, just stating a fact. This is where I'm playing. And that's when Melissa snapped. Move, she shouted. And then she shoved him. Hard. My 8-year-old son, who weighed maybe 60 pounds, stumbled backward. He hit the edge of the patio table, then fell to the ground. His elbow scraped against the concrete. His new train cars scattered everywhere. He burst into tears, not just from the pain, but from the shock, from the confusion, from the cruelty of it all. I rushed to him, my heart pounding. Eli, baby, are you okay? But before I could even process what had happened, Melissa delivered the real gut punch. You're just a spoiled little brat, she snarled at my crying son. Just like your mom. And then, and this is what I'll never forget, my mother nodded approvingly and added, well, someone had to put him in his place. The world went quiet. I heard James whisper under his breath, nope. Not this time. I looked at my son, tears streaming down his face, holding his scraped elbow. I looked at my sister, smirking with satisfaction. I looked at my mother, nodding like she'd just witnessed justice being served. And something inside me broke, or maybe it finally healed. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't make a scene in front of the remaining party guests. I just said, very quietly, I think it's time for you to leave. Julia huffed. We're family, Karen. Family doesn't kick family out over a little discipline. That wasn't discipline, I said, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. That was assault on a child. On my child. Oh, please, Melissa rolled her eyes. He's fine, stop being so dramatic. But I wasn't being dramatic. I was finally being a mother. Get out, I said, both of you. Now, they left, muttering about how I was overreacting, and how Eli was too sensitive, and how I was raising him wrong. I watched them drive away, and I felt something I'd never felt before in relation to my family of origin. Relief, James helped me get Eli cleaned up. We put antibiotic ointment on his elbow and gave him extra cake. My in-laws stayed to help finish cleaning up, and they were nothing but gentle with their grandson. But that night, after everyone had gone home and Eli was asleep, I sat in our living room with James and cried. "I'm so sorry," I kept saying. "I'm so sorry I exposed him to that. I'm so sorry I didn't protect him." James held me while I sobbed. "You did protect him," he said. "You protected him when it mattered most. You chose him over them." But I felt like I'd failed. I felt like I'd let my son down in the worst possible way. That's when James said something that changed everything. "You know we have cameras on the back patio, right? We should check out the video." I'd forgotten about the security cameras. We'd installed them 6 months earlier after a string of break-ins in our neighborhood. James had put one on the front porch and one on the back patio, just to be safe. That night, while Eli slept and James made us tea, I pulled up the footage on my laptop. And there it was, everything. The camera had caught it all in perfect, devastating clarity. Melissa approaching Eli while he played peacefully with his trains, her face twisted with irritation. Eli's confused, innocent response. The shove, the fall, the tears, and then the aftermath. Melissa's cruel words, my mother's approval. My son's humiliation. Watching it back was like having my heart ripped out all over again. But it was also something else, proof. For 30 years, I'd been gaslit by these people. Told I was too sensitive and dramatic and making things up. Made to doubt my own memories and experiences. But here was the truth, recorded in high definition. Here was evidence of who they really were. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the footage, feeling sick to my stomach but also strangely empowered. For the first time in my life, I had proof that I wasn't crazy, that their cruelty was real, that my son deserved better. The next morning, James found me still at the laptop. "What are you thinking?" he asked gently. I looked up at him, my husband who'd loved me when I couldn't love myself, who'd shown me what healthy family looked like, who'd been patient while I learned to set boundaries. "I'm thinking about sending this to everyone," I said. James sat down next to me. "Are you sure? Once you do this, there's no going back." I looked at the paused frame on my screen, my son on the ground, crying, while his aunt smirked above him. "Good," I said. "I don't want to go back." But I didn't send it right away. I spent the day thinking about it, talking it through with James, considering the consequences. My in-laws came over that afternoon to check on Eli. When I showed them the footage, my mother-in-law, Maria, started crying. "Oh my God," she whispered. "That poor baby. How could anyone do that to a child?" My father-in-law, Harris, was angrier than I'd ever seen him. "This is abuse," he said. "This is exactly what it is." Their reaction confirmed what I already knew. This wasn't normal. This wasn't discipline. This was cruelty, pure and simple. That evening, I made a list of everyone who needed to see the truth. Every family member who'd ever asked why I was distant from my mother and sister. Every family friend who'd wondered why I didn't bring Eli around more often. Every person who'd ever suggested I was too hard on my family of origin. I trimmed the footage to a clean, 1-minute clip. No music, no effects, no commentary, just the raw, unedited truth. James and I crafted the message together. "Hi, everyone. I'm sorry to send this on a Sunday, but I felt it was important for you to see what really happened at Eli's birthday party yesterday. This is security footage from our back patio. Please watch it before you make any judgments about our family decisions going forward. We love you all, and we hope you understand why we need to protect our son." Karen and James, I attached the video file and stared at the send button for what felt like hours. "Are you ready?" James asked. I thought about Eli sleeping peacefully upstairs. I thought about the little boy who loved trains and math and making maps. I thought about protecting him from ever feeling small or unwanted or wrong. "Yeah," I said. "I'm ready." I hit send. The video went out to 43 people. My extended family, family friends, neighbors who'd been at the party, even some people who hadn't been there but who'd heard my mother's version of events over the years. Then we waited. The first response came within an hour. My cousin Rebecca, who'd always been neutral in family drama. "Karen, I'm so sorry. I had no idea it was this bad. That poor little boy, I can't believe what I just watched." Then my Uncle Mark, my mother's brother, "This is disgusting. I'm ashamed to be related to them. Give Eli a hug from us. Then my neighbor Janet, who'd been at the party. I saw the aftermath but didn't know what caused it. Now I understand. You're such a good mother for protecting him. The messages kept coming. Support, outrage, apologies from people who'd previously defended my mother and sister. But here's what I wasn't expecting. The video started spreading beyond my original list. My cousin Rebecca had shown it to her husband, who'd shown it to his sister, who'd shown it to her friend who happened to go to the same church as my mother. By Monday morning, the video had made it to Julia's church community. By Monday afternoon, it had reached Melissa's social circle. And that's when the real fallout began. My phone started ringing. First my mother, screaming about privacy and betrayal. Then Melissa, threatening to sue me for defamation. Then my father, who I hadn't heard from in months, asking if we could work this out as a family. I didn't answer any of their calls. I was done talking. The video said everything that needed to be said, but other people were talking, and what they were saying wasn't pretty. My mother got removed from her position on the church organizing committee. Apparently, several committee members had children and grandchildren with special needs, and they were horrified by what they saw. Melissa lost 3 close friends in one day. The video had reached her inner circle through a mutual acquaintance, and they were disgusted by her behavior. Even my father's coworkers heard about it. Someone's cousin had married someone's brother, and the video made the rounds at his construction company. The thing about small towns is that everyone knows everyone. And the thing about cruelty to children is that it crosses every line for every decent person. Within a week, my mother and sister had gone from being respected members of the community to being pariahs. And they had no one to blame but themselves. The confrontation I'd been dreading came on a Thursday evening. I was making dinner while Eli did his homework at the kitchen table. James was on his way home from work. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw all 3 of them, my mother, my sister, and my father. Julia looked furious. Melissa looked defiant. Paul looked defeated. I considered not answering, but I knew they'd just keep coming back. Eli, I said calmly, can you go play in your room for a few minutes? I need to talk to some people. He looked up from his math homework. Is everything okay, Mom? Everything's fine, baby. Just grown-up stuff. Eli gathered his papers and went upstairs. I waited until I heard his bedroom door close before I opened the front door. We need to talk, my mother said, pushing past me into the house. Actually, we don't, I said, but they were already in my living room. Julia whirled around to face me. How dare you humiliate us like this? How dare you air our family business to the entire town? I didn't air anything, I said, staying calm. I showed people the truth. The truth, Melissa laughed bitterly. The truth is that your son is a spoiled brat who needed to be taught some boundaries. He's 8 years old, I said, and he's autistic. And you assaulted him. I barely touched him. You shoved him to the ground at his own birthday party. My father finally spoke up. Karen, we're family. This should have stayed in the family. You're right, I said. It should have. But you chose to side with the person who hurt my child instead of protecting him, so you made it clear that we're not really family. Julia's face was red with rage. We've supported you your whole life. We've put up with your dramatics, your sensitivity, your ridiculous parenting choices. And this is how you repay us. Put up with me. I felt something snap inside me. You've never supported me. You've spent 30 years making me feel like I was wrong for existing. Well, guess what? I'm not wrong. I'm not too sensitive. I'm not dramatic. I'm a mother protecting her child. From what? Melissa demanded. From people who love him. You don't love him, I said, and the words came out like a revelation. You've never loved him. You've never even liked him. You've spent 4 years making him feel like he's not good enough, not normal enough, not worth your time. And I'm done with it. He's not normal, Julia shouted. He's weird and obsessive and embarrassing, and you're raising him to think that's okay. The room went silent. Even Melissa looked shocked by what had just come out of our mother's mouth. Get out, I said quietly. Karen, my father started. Get out of my house, all of you, right now. You can't just cut us off, Julia said. We're your family. No, I said, walking to the front door and opening it. My family is upstairs doing homework. My family is the man who's about to come home from work and help me make dinner. My family is the people who love my son unconditionally and would never hurt him. You're not my family. You're just people who share my DNA. They stood there for a moment, probably expecting me to back down like I always had before. But I didn't back down. I stood by the open door and waited. Finally, they left. My mother muttered something about how I'd regret this. Melissa said I was crazy and vindictive. My father said nothing at all. I closed the door behind them and locked it. Then I slid down the door and sat on the floor, shaking. That's where James found me 10 minutes later. "What happened?" he asked, sitting down beside me. "I think I just orphaned myself," I said. "Good," he said, pulling me into his arms. "They never deserved you anyway." The aftermath had been swift and decisive. Within 2 weeks, my mother and sister had been ostracized from most of their social circles. The video had spread far beyond what I'd intended, but I didn't regret it. Julia was asked to step down from her volunteer positions at the community center. Melissa found herself suddenly uninvited from social gatherings and group outings. The small town we'd grown up in had rendered its judgment, and it wasn't in their favor. But the most surprising call came from my father 2 days after the confrontation. "I never stood up to your mother," he said, his voice quiet and tired. "I should have protected you when you were little. I should have protected Eli at that party. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry." It was the first real apology I'd ever heard from him. "I know I can't undo 30 years of staying silent," he continued, "but I want to try to do better. I'd like to have a relationship with my grandson, if you'll let me. I know I have to earn it." I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt sad for the little girl who needed to hear those words decades ago. "We'll see," I said, and I meant it. The door wasn't completely closed, but it wasn't wide open either. My extended family rallied around us. Cousins who'd been distant reached out with support. Aunts and uncles who'd stayed neutral in family drama made their positions clear. Even some of my mother's siblings chose our side. The most healing part was seeing how the community embraced Eli. Neighbors who'd only known him as the Morris boy suddenly saw him as a child who needed protection. Teachers at his school heard about what happened and made extra efforts to ensure he felt safe and valued. One evening, about a month after the party, I was tucking Eli into bed when he asked, "Mom, are Grandma Julia and Aunt Melissa coming to my next birthday?" "No, baby," I said. "They're not." "Good," he said simply. "They weren't very nice to me." "You're right," I said. "They weren't, and you deserve people who are nice to you. Like you and Dad and Grandma Maria and Grandpa Harris. Exactly like that." He smiled and hugged his stuffed train. "I love you, Mom. I love you too, Eli, so much." As I turned off his light, I realized something profound. For the first time in my life, I'd chosen my child over my family of origin. I'd chosen love over loyalty to people who'd never earned it. I'd chosen protection over peace. And it felt like coming home to myself. The video is still out there somewhere, probably saved on phones and shared in group chats. My mother and sister have never apologized. They've never acknowledged what they did wrong. They've never asked to make amends. But that's okay. I don't need their apology anymore. I don't need their love or approval or validation. I have everything I need right here. A husband who supports me, a son who trusts me, and the knowledge that I finally became the mother I wished I'd had. They thought I'd stay quiet. They thought I'd let them treat my son the way they'd treated me. They thought I'd choose their comfort over his safety. But I'm not that scared little girl anymore. And my son will never have to question his worth, not on my watch. The security camera didn't just catch their cruelty that day. It caught the moment I finally found my voice. It caught the moment I chose love over fear. It caught the moment I became the protector I'd always needed. And that moment changed everything. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and protecting someone you love? What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button. And don't forget to share this video and subscribe if you haven't already. We've got more incredible revenge stories coming your way.